In the heart of the Mongol Empire, a princess stood in a wrestling ring. Not to watch, to fight. She was Khutulun, the great-great-granddaughter of the mighty Genghis Khan. Her power was a legend in the making. She had a simple rule for any man who wanted to marry her. He had to beat her in a wrestling match. If he lost, he owed her 100 horses. This was a challenge no one had ever seen before. This was not a peaceful time. The huge Mongol Empire was broken. It was a world of constant war. Khutulun's own father, a ruler named Kaidu, was fighting his cousin for power. That cousin was the great Kublai Khan. In this dangerous world, being strong was everything. It was not just a good thing to have. It was the only thing that kept you alive. Power was the only real currency that mattered. The princess's challenge had a huge price. 100 horses was not a small gift. It was a fortune. It was enough to move a small army from place to place. This was a serious wager. Think about it. Every man who tried to win her hand and lost was actually helping her family. They were paying for her father's war. Their loss was her family's gain, horse by horse. This was not just a clever trick. It was a weapon of war hidden inside a marriage proposal. Historians say she collected 10,000 horses this way. Her army grew stronger with every man she threw to the ground. So how did she get so strong? Khutulun was not raised like other princesses. She was her father's favorite child. He trained her himself, right beside her 14 brothers. She learned to ride horses and shoot arrows with deadly skill, but wrestling was where she truly shined. Old writers, like the historian Rashid al-Din, said she was tall and powerful, a true warrior princess. But here is the real secret. What if the challenge was never about finding a husband? It was a brilliant political test. Any man strong enough to beat her would be a worthy ally in war. Any man who lost proved he was weak, and he paid for it. This filter wasn't just a clever idea. It was a public show. Each challenge was a test of strength, watched by the entire Mongol court. This was how she proved her worth, one match at a time. Picture this. The air is thick with dust. The great Mongol leaders are watching. A new challenger steps forward. He is a prince from a rival clan, famous for his looks and his power. He is sure he will win. The match begins. But it is not a messy fight. It is a dance of power. The prince lunges forward. The princess, Khutulun, fakes a move to the side. He follows, putting all his weight into the attack, and in that moment, she uses his own force against him, throwing him to the ground. She had won, again, but winning so often came with a price. Her strength made other powerful men angry. They could not beat her. So they tried to break her with words. Whispers and rumors started to spread, coming from the court of her great-uncle, the powerful Kublai Khan. These were not just mean words, they were weapons. To explain why no man could win her hand, her enemies told a dark story. They said she would not marry because she was in love with her own father. It was a lie made to turn her own people against her, a political attack. But here is the secret truth. The wrestling matches were never about finding a husband. Each man she defeated gave her 100 horses. Her herd grew from 1,000 to 5,000. Soon, she had 10,000 horses. And that number is the key. In the Mongol world, 10,000 war horses is a tumen. That is the name for a full army. She was not collecting animals. She was building her own military force right under their noses. This was her real plan. Her skill on the wrestling mat was training for the battlefield. She was a famous military commander. She fought in every war beside her father. And we know this because a famous traveler saw her. His name was Marco Polo. He wrote about what he saw. He described her signature move in battle. It was shocking. She would ride her horse straight into the enemy army. She would pick one man, a captain, or a hero. Then she would grab him. She would pull him right off his horse and drag him back to her own soldiers. It was a terrifying thing to see. It broke the spirit of her enemies. This was the true power of the wrestling princess, a warrior who shaped the fate of an empire. But the horses were not the real prize. The wrestling was never just about marriage, it was a test. Her father, the great ruler Kaidu, was watching every match. He was building a legend. This was his final, secret plan. Before his death, Kaidu announced who would rule after him. He bypassed all 14 of his sons. He chose the one warrior he trusted most. He intended to name Khutulun the next Khan of the empire. So why have we never heard of the great Queen Khutulun? Because the system broke before she could rule. Her own brothers refused. The Mongol military leaders would not accept a woman as their supreme commander. Her skill did not matter. Her victories meant nothing to them. With her father gone, her position was weak. So Khutulun made her final strategic move. She finally agreed to marry. But this was no defeat. It was a calculated retreat, designed to protect her power. She chose the man herself. He was a warrior who had been loyal to her father. This marriage was a political alliance. It was a move to quiet her rivals. It bought her safety in a world that suddenly turned against her. History often erases women who are too powerful. Khutulun's story was so threatening that it was changed over time. The warrior princess was twisted into something else entirely. She became a warning, not an inspiration. Her legend was turned into a famous opera character, a cruel princess named Turandot who asks men impossible questions. They took a real woman's strength and courage and turned her into a monster in a fairy tale. This is how a true queen gets silenced. The final mystery is the most haunting. Khutulun died in the year 1306, only a few years after her father. The historical records, once filled with stories of her amazing feats, fall completely silent. No cause of death is ever given. Was she assassinated by her jealous brothers? Did they finally remove the sister who was better than all of them? Her ending is an unwritten page, a final secret that history took with it. But a story with no ending is not a story that disappears. It becomes something else. It becomes a legend. Her tale was too strong to be erased by silent pages in a book. It lived on in whispers. It was told in quiet corners, from mother to daughter. The wrestling princess became a secret hero, a ghost of power that haunted the official history books. The men who held power tried to bury her name. This was a direct result of her defiance. A woman who could not be controlled by their rules was a danger to their whole world. So they chose to pretend she never existed. They rewrote the chronicles. They left out the wrestling matches. They changed her story into a small note about a disobedient girl. They hoped the world would forget her strength. Except, that's not how memory works. When you try to crush a powerful story, you do not kill it. You force it to grow in the dark, like a seed. Her history became a myth. She was no longer just a person. She became an idea that a cage is only a cage if you agree to stay inside. Her spirit became a symbol of unbreakable will. This symbol gave hope to others. For generations, women who felt trapped saw her as proof that you could build your own power. You could write your own rules, even if no one else would read them. Her true victory was not winning an army. It was that her story outlasted the men who tried to silence it. Her power was not in a throne. It was in the memory of her courage. This shows a deep truth about history. The most powerful legacies are not always written in stone. Sometimes they are carried in the heart. A single act of defiance can echo forever. It becomes a quiet strength, a power that can never truly be defeated.